Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, regular listeners, you know, these are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. I highly recommend that you check them out. So if you're not using them when we're done with the interview today, go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products with a live web demo. You've heard me say before, one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to see more. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. Now, as a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank our friends at Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got their master's degree through the Ohio program, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're earning your master's, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Go to Ohio University and check out their online masters in athletic administration. And don't forget to mention the podcast. We want to thank our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to their website and take a look at their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to showcase your school's unique history and brag about your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We want to say thanks to our friends at Hometown. Hometown is changing the game for schools and organizations with their suite of solutions for things like, yeah, they still do digital ticketing, but they also have fee-free fundraising. They build athletic websites and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, or a school administrator, Hometown can make it easy for you to raise money, save time, and bring your community together. To find out all the things they can do, go to hometown.com. That's hometown.com. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results. For me, the athletic clearance and eligibility platform alone is incredible. You got to see it to believe it. Go to homecampus.com to get started. That's it, homecampus.com. We also want to thank our friends at Snap Mobile. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with great success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. I'm telling you, it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. It's snapraise.com. We want to thank our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com right now and let their team show you how to create world-class social media content in seconds. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college programs. And whether it's a simple social media post celebrating a big win or an entire newsletter to showcase all the great things that you and your program is doing for the community, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com for more information. And don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to thank our friends at Athletic Surveys. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a small group that just wants to complain. Athletic surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% of your stakeholders that support your program. And having that type of data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. Don't forget to mention the podcast. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We're staying right here in Florida, and we're going to be visiting with Mark Barrett. Mark is the assistant athletic director at University High School. That's right in Orlando. We could probably have done this face to face, but we're using Zoom. Mark, welcome to the podcast.
Jake, I really appreciate you having me. All your resources have been a huge help for me and for a lot of other people. So it's great to talk to you.
Well, you're very kind to say that. I certainly enjoy doing the interview, and thanks for taking time out of your busy day to share with our listeners. As you know, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us that quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own college experience, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Mark Barrett origin story?
Well, I was born in Florida, in Niceville, Florida, up in the Panhandle, and had a really good experience there. Was really fortunate to have two parents that, loved us and supported us with virtually everything that we could ask for. And had a brother who's 3 years older than me, and was able to, kind of ride his wake a little bit as we went through things. But so grew up in Niceville, went to Niceville High School, played football there, was on the weightlifting team, and played for Coach John Hicks at Niceville, who's a longtime head football coach, athletic director. He retired about 5 or 6 years ago, but had a really good experience at Niceville. And then I went to the University of Florida, and probably could have had some opportunities to play smaller college football, but certainly not at UF. But I wanted that big school experience. And so I went to Florida and studied math, and with the intentions of being a math teacher and a football coach in high school.
I finished my career at the McClay School in Tallahassee in the Panhandle. Know a lot of people that are currently at Niceville. Um, I think from my 10,000 foot view, that looks like a really cool place to have grown up. There's a city component, but it still strikes me as kind of small town. Am I close or am I completely off base?
100%. I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better place to grow up. It is a small town. It's a one horse town. Niceville High School is the only large public high school in the city, or the town, I should say. Um, but it being a military town, also, you get a lot of different perspectives from literally all over the world that come into Niceville. And so, we had friends that we grew up with since we were in kindergarten and played Little League baseball with, all the way to, folks that were there for 1 or 2 years on a military transfer. So it was a really cool place to grow up. And, you know, you we were it, a lot of what we did was revolved around sports, whether it was Little League baseball or church league basketball, or, when you get into middle school athletics or high school athletics. And we saw the sports component of it and how much of an investment there was in sports in Niceville. But when you look back on it, you realize that it was a huge investment in just the youth of Niceville and the young people there. And so that's where, I really count myself fortunate to have grown up in a community like that really takes time to invest in young people and teach people how to live right. And because it really transcends athletics when it goes, you're talking about the different programs at schools, whether it's fine arts or, the chorus programs, or the different academic programs that are in Niceville. It really is an all-encompassing investment in young people. And I was really fortunate to be a beneficiary of that.
Let's uh let's stay in that area for a moment. Again, I'm very familiar with that. I went to high school, a big public high school, but it was out in the sticks. It was a huge district, but it's a small town that we lived in. Talk about a one-horse town. But making that transition from junior high to high school, now you're a freshman, and the, sports programs in Niceville, I think kind of like mine, it had some pretty good success. What was that like coming in as a freshman? Was there excitement to be involved? Was there trepidation? Oh, geez, can I compete at this level? What are your memories of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was one thing that I think was really neat is how there is actually middle school athletics in Okaloosa County, and so which as you move on, you realize that that's more and more of an anomaly, with different parts of the state and in the country. Um, it was everything that I wanted it to be. I mean, we grew up when we were 5 and 6 years old, running out on the football field to form the tunnel that the football team runs through in the stadium. And when you transition to a freshman, you know that you're going to be the low man on the totem pole, because, like you said, Niceville is historically a really competitive program, with football, which was my experience, but really with all athletic programs. And you see these big, strong guys, and you kind of hear about them from a distance when you're growing up, but then to see them up close and personal, you kind of you find your way in the world real quick, where you're at on the totem pole. But no, I mean it was important to us to to kind of do our part to uphold the tradition of Niceville. And, it wasn't, it was talked about, I guess, it was talked about to us about how important that is, but we felt it, and no one really had to tell us that it was important to uphold the standard that was set before us. And, from the time we were in ninth grade on, that was what we did every day. And, we really, our coaches worked us hard, and there wasn't really any time to do anything else. And so, but it was, like I said, it was a great experience. And I think it being a small community really, gives you a framework of, you grow up, you want to be a Niceville Eagle. And it was really, a neat thing to be.
Boy, you give me goosebumps because I remember 100 years ago when I was in high school too, and I think that it's that double-edged sword. There's so many more things for kids to do today in addition to sports, but they don't get that, I guess, concentrated sport experience like I got again a long time ago. You're a lot younger than me, but you got growing up in Niceville. So again, I'm not downplaying the value of those other activities. It's great, but it does come at a little bit of a cost. Let's go and jump into your college experience as a Gator. What are some memories from that time? Because again, you said you wanted to be a teacher and a coach. What are some of the memories of your time at the University of Florida that are still with you now in your job at University High School?
Yeah, so I think obviously Florida is a great place, and it still holds a special place in my heart. I think the college years are some of the most, formidable years that you have. But I think my time at Florida was probably most marked by my time working at Eastside High School in Gainesville. So after the first semester of my freshman year, I had a pretty good inclination that I wanted to be a coach. And so I changed my degree from engineering to math in pursuit of being a math teacher. And then I started emailing coaches in the area. And I was fortunate that the first guy that I emailed was Jeff Parker at Eastside High School. He had just gotten the job there, and he allowed me to come be a part of the program. And as time went on, I was able to, take on more and more responsibility, and probably more than I was ready for at the time. But the 3 years that I worked at Eastside really set me on a path to approach coaching in a certain way. Um, Coach Parker was really good at connecting with kids where they were at, and I was able to learn a lot from him in those 3 years. And I met some guys at Eastside that are still dear friends to this day. Two of the guys on that staff were in my wedding, and so that was a really neat thing that probably was the biggest marker on my time at Florida. was my time working at East Side High School with the football program and working with the kids in East Gainesville there. Beyond that, I mean, Florida was a great spot for me. From a college perspective too. With all the trappings of being in a big SEC school. Obviously, we enjoyed Saturdays in the fall at Florida, and so that was great. And I made some lifelong friends there that are still special to me to this day.
Well, I love hearing those stories, and it's another great reminder for our listeners, particularly our younger listeners, about the value of right away building your network, reaching out to people in the profession, whether they're coaches or ADs, and along with that, which often comes with it, that volunteering aspect. You just can't put a price tag on how valuable that investment is. Thanks for sharing that. Let's go and take our first break. For our listeners, we're visiting today with Mark Barrett. He's the Assistant Athletic Director at University High School. That's right here in Florida, in Orlando. So we're coming back with more. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Of course, we use it for home games, but we also used it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile, and their customer service is just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to thank our good friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. But when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, all of our coaches, just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Our student athletes loved the videos, and our parents loved the streaming, but there's so much more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com.
Yeah, Jake, we use Huddle. It's been a great resource for us for a number of years. And just in terms of letting our coaches break down film and our kids using it for the highlight reels to be able to send to colleges, it's been a really good resource for us.
Boy, I really appreciate you sharing that. And I'm glad you mentioned the kids, using it, and not just the ones that are going to college. We had this at our school. We would have kids that they knew they weren't going to college, but they wanted to make a highlight tape just to keep with them of some memories and keepsakes of their sports, and not just in football, but in other sports. I'm curious, how have the other coaches outside of football, have they embraced the platform?
They have, our basketball program uses it. We have a variety of different programs that use Huddle, and you just, with the way that the game is played now, with all the different, analytics that go into it, you really can't get enough of it. And so, we get a lot of use out of it, and a lot of our coaches do as well.
No, well, again, thanks for sharing that. For our listeners, our guest today is Mark Barrett. He's the Assistant Athletic Director at University High School right here in Orlando, Florida. Mark, you shared some of your experiences while you were at the University of Florida. Now you graduate, you're out in the real world. Take us on that journey that has led you now to your present position at university.
Well, when I graduated from Florida, I wanted to get my master's as soon as I could because I realized that the longer I was out of my undergraduate studies, the less likely it was for me to go back. And so I started looking for programs that would allow me to coach as well while I was pursuing that degree. And the University of Central Florida had a program that was a combination of hybrid online and night classes. And so I started to go to UCF, and in the interim there, I emailed some programs in the Orlando area to see if I could, volunteer or work with their football program. And so I was looking for some schools that, had success and that I felt like I could learn something from. And but also I wanted to get the sense that the coaching was one of the big reasons behind their success. Not just a place that was loaded with athletes and they got by, just, because of, whatever coaches were there. But I really wanted to learn from a lot of really good professional coaches. And so I reached out to Coach Rick Darlington at Apopka High School. And, they were coming off of a state finals appearance and a state championship the year before. And then obviously, his track record preceded that, from his first go around at Apopka. And, he spent some time in Georgia in between. And so I sat with him and talked about what I was looking for. And he jokes that I started emailing schools alphabetically, with Apopka just being the first one that I reached out to. But no, it was I saw the track record that they had and the kind of program that he ran, and thought that would be something that I'd really enjoy being a part of. So when I moved to Orlando, it was actually January, when I moved, and I started working with them in the off-season program, taking classes and kind of just working in off-season workouts. And then a teaching job had come open in April that I was certified for, based on my undergraduate work. And he asked me if I'd be interested in it. And so I jumped at it. And that was where I got my first teaching job, was at Apopka High School. And that was really where I felt like I grew up as a coach. I learned from a lot of great guys on staff. I think in the 3 years that I was at Apopka, we had 10 or 11 assistant coaches who spent time there during those 3 years. And 8 or 9 of them were either previous head coaches or future head coaches. And so every day it was like a clinic in the office, whether it was talking football, talking program, talking player discipline. There was just so many things that I learned during that 3 years that I still refer back to this day. And so that was my first 3 years out of school, was at Apopka High School. And, I can't say enough about what Coach Darlington meant to me as far as, my professional development. And then also, as a personal friend. I mean, we still stay in contact frequently to this day, bouncing ideas off of each other. I'll ask him, how would you handle this situation? How would you do that? And he's always been really good to me, as far as that goes. And so after 3 years at Apopka, I kind of had an itch to look at what else was out there, out of the state of Florida. And so I started looking in Texas to see, I'd heard for a long time about what Texas high school football was like. And I really thought that I wanted to get an experience there. And so I was, single, and, it was just me at the time. So it was pretty easy to pick up and move. And so I moved to Houston, and where I worked at Willow Ridge High School for a year. And I worked for a head coach named Richard Lazaro. And he was really instrumental to me as far as relating to kids, but also creating an infrastructure of support with kids that really allowed them to be set up for success. And so Willow Ridge is in the southwest part of Houston, in Fort Bend ISD. And we had a lot of kids who were awesome kids that needed some support from the athletic infrastructure that Coach Laz had built up. And it was great as far as learning, looking at what you want your desired outcomes to be, and then creating a system in place to make sure that happens, and not leaving a whole lot to chance. That was really, really instrumental for me to learn from him at Willow Ridge. And so I was there for a year, and then had a chance to co-coordinate an offense as a passing game coordinator at A-Leaf Taylor High School, also in the southwest part of Houston. And I worked for Coach Brian Randall there, who was a really successful head coach in Texas. He just won a state championship this past year in the 5A division in Texas. And so there was a lot of great coaches there. Really enjoyed my time. I mean, A-Leaf Taylor it's been in existence since the early 2000s, and they've produced something like 20 or 25 NFL players since then. So it's a really, really hotbed of talent in Houston. And I learned a lot from Coach Randall and some of the other coaches there, as far as, relating to kids and, not making excuses for what you want to build. And so that was a really cool learning experience there. And then after 2 years at A-Leaf Taylor, I worked for Coach Mike Arrow at Fort Bend Austin High School, which is in that same part of West Houston there. And that was a really great experience for me, personally and professionally, to work with Coach Arrow and a couple of the other assistants there who are close friends, and they just had a great way about them there, that I really enjoyed. Learning from them, and it was a completely different way of operating from some of the places that I worked previously, as far as working smarter, with, whether it was weekend hours or things like that, being efficient with how we did things. And that was also in the middle of COVID. And so that was a really good group of guys to be able to hunker down with, during the all the complications that came from COVID, and being flexible with things. And obviously everybody learned how to, have some, um, be to adjust on the fly, during COVID. And so that was in 2020. And so in 2020, I reconnected with my now wife. She had been living in Orlando and still does. And so we reconnected and decided that Florida was going to be the place that we kind of planted our flag. And so it was a pretty easy decision, because Florida is just, it's home to me, and so it was something that I was looking forward to getting back to. And so I came back to Central Florida, and I connected with Jeff Ralston, who's the head coach at Apopka High School. He was the defensive coordinator when I was there the first go round. And I was like, hey, do you have any positions on your staff? And he brought me back, and it was great to work for him for a year. And I was able to coordinate the offense in conjunction with Bill Coggle, who has been a mainstay at Apopka for a long time. And it was a great year. Apopka was they had been to the state championship game the previous 2 years. And so we were able to come back, and we reached the state finals again, and came up a little bit short. But again, it was neat to come back to Apopka in a different capacity than I had been the first time. The first time I was there, I was certainly taken in on staff, and was embraced by those guys. But I was a 22-year-old assistant coach who didn't know much of anything. And so I was very much in a soak everything in, happy to be there kind of capacity, from 2014 to 17 or through 16. And then to be able to come back in a coordinator capacity or a co-coordinator capacity in 2021, it was really neat to come full circle to a certain degree, to be able to have a little bit more influence on the day-to-day parts of the program. And it was a really good learning experience for me. It was a good, it was a great time, for the time that we had there. And then after 2021, we took the head job at University High School. So that was my first foray into the east side of Orange County. And so I served as the head coach here for 2 years. And you know, you I knew I didn't know everything. I didn't know what I didn't know. But you find out real quickly what you don't know when you first become a head coach. And so all those times that I thought about, what I wanted to do as a head coach when I got the opportunity, I really enjoyed putting a lot of those thoughts into action, and then, kind of unearthing a lot of the things that you don't think about when you become a head coach. And so it's just been a great time at university, with our administration here, with our community here, and with the kids that we have at the school. We really enjoyed our time. And so I did that for 2 years. And then we had first child. My wife gave birth to our first child in 2023. And so then I'm sorry, 2020, yeah, 2023. Yeah. So it's a January birthday, so sometimes you forget the year. But then we found out that we were having another one about 20 months later. And so the reality is we did not think that the 2 under 2 at the house rodeo um, was not going to jive well with the day-to-day demands of being a head football coach. So decided to step away for a year. And when I stepped down, our administrators asked me about if I'd considered athletic administration, and I did, and that's kind of where we're at now as far as working with our athletic director Frank Prendergast, who's been a great mentor to me, and that's kind of the path that we're on now.
Again, I'm just fascinated to hear the journey and all the different steps. And in this case, it took you away from Florida, but it brought you back, kind of bookend experiences at a Popka. I got to throw out a name, Russ Wombles. Did you guys ever cross paths?
We did briefly. So I believe he was coming in as the athletic director for his second stint at Apopka as I was moving out to Texas. So unfortunately, I didn't get to work with him extensively, but I've met him and have a lot of respect for him, and he certainly has a lot of respect in the Orange County athletic community.
Oh yeah, no, Russell's a good friend. He's younger than me, but I call him my FIAAA mentor. I'll throw one more name at you. Obviously, I've heard of Rick Darlington, the success that Popka's had, but Aaron Crawford, did you guys get to work together?
Another one did not get to work with him, but it's funny. Our paths have kind of have our the places that we've been have intersected, but the times we were there have not. So, he was at university for a short time and worked with the athletic department here. And so, a lot of the folks that he worked with, I work with now. And then now, him being at Apopka now, we didn't overlap there. But now that I've kind of ventured into the athletic administration world a little bit, we've connected, and he's been a great resource for me, especially with a lot of the things that he does as far as the facility branding and sponsorships and things like that. He did a great job with that when he was at Lake Nona, and continues to do that at Apopka. So I've been able to pick his brain a little bit about that, and he's been a really good resource for me in that respect.
Yeah, again, just two Apopka ADs that I've met over my time in Florida, and great guys. Let's go and take a break. Our guest today is Mark Barrett. He's the assistant athletic director at University High School. He's taken you on his career journey so far. We're going to hear about life at university as an assistant AD. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We'd like to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. It's very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're completing your master's degree, you're also completing 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. To find out more, just go to the Ohio University Online Masters in Athletic Administration. We want to say thanks to our friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or to show off your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. Whether it's a wall mount or a floor mount, if you put one of their units in your gym lobby, in your main school hallway, it's going to become a magnet for kids, for coaches, for parents. How about alumni and sponsors? Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. As always, mention the podcast. Check out their products. You got to see them to believe it. Vitalsignswalloffame.com. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Hometown. Hometown's changing the game for schools, for organizations, with their suite of solutions for things like, oh, big surprise, digital ticketing, but they also have a fundraising platform. They construct athletic websites and a whole lot more. Whether you're an athletic director, a head coach, or a school administrator, Hometown makes it easy for you and your school to save time, to raise more money, and to bring your entire community together. You can learn more at hometown.com. As always, mention the podcast, hometown.com. Hey, welcome back. We're visiting today with Mark Barrett, a longtime coach and teacher in Florida, and now he's the assistant athletic director for University High School. Mark, you mentioned that you decided to step away from coaching. The administration came to you as they obviously saw something. What was it like, as I like to say, coming over to the other side of the desk as an athletic administrator?
Yeah, it's been great. When I told our principal and athletic director that I felt like it was time for me to step away from coaching, I had in mind that I wanted to go into campus administration, and so I'd started my ed leadership degree, and that was something that I just want to take some time to do. And they mentioned that athletic administration would be a pathway into the administrative world. And we had done some things when I was the head football coach that that really kind of benefited the entire athletic department. So whether it was some signage in our facilities or sponsorship things like that, some things that kind of bled over into the athletic administration world. And so I think they knew that I had a bent towards that. But when they asked me to if I would consider that, that was something that really appealed to me. And so it's been different, not being able to work with athletes on that day-to-day level. But it's been a really cool thing to be able to work with our coaches a little bit more closely, to support them and provide for them in ways that you're not able to when you're the head coach of a particular program. So I've really enjoyed it, and it's been a nice change of pace for us.
You mentioned this for coaching. I'm going to talk about the AD part. And again, you're the assistant AD, but there's an expression we throw around a lot. You don't know what you don't know. What was something that you found out about being an athletic administrator that you just didn't know coming into the job?
Well, I think it's kind of is multifaceted, I would say. I think there's the one part of it where, I'm learning from our athletic director, Frank Prendergast, who has a long track record in the state of Florida with athletic administration, from particularly his time at Lake Highland Prep in Orlando, and from our principal, just kind of peeling the curtain back a little bit and showing me how the school actually works and how athletics fits into the entire purpose and mission of the school. And so that's been a big educational experience for me, and I appreciate all that they've done to teach me about a lot of those aspects. But it also takes you down a different path of professional development and resources, and candidly, a lot of your resources, Jake, and the FIAAA and the NIAAA have a lot of resources out there that really describe what education-based athletics is. And so I hadn't really had a lot of exposure to those materials before I'd ventured down this path. And so I think just framing out athletics in an educational setting has been really beneficial for me, because you really see from a big picture standpoint the impact that athletics can have on an entire school and on a community, which when you're coaching every day, and my concern was more about first downs and grade checks and things like that, you don't see the big picture as much. And so that's been a really good educational experience for me too.
Now, in your position, you came in, new, and you'd spent some time at some pretty impressive programs. Not that university is not, but for listeners, just for example, Apopka, if they're not winning the state championship, they're playing for it or they're a Final Four team. What were some things that when you came to university, you were immediately impressed with? Wow, this is pretty cool. And again, your perspective coming from a very successful program.
Yeah, I think from a football perspective, it was different situations historically. Um, I would say that the first thing that draws your attention at University High School, if you haven't seen it, is the beauty of the school. I mean, it's a Spanish revival architecture school with terracotta roofs, and the stadium is concreted on both sides. It's a 5,000 seat stadium, and it was built in the early 90s before our school district had kind of normalized a lot of the construction of new schools. And so there's really not much like it from an architectural standpoint in our area. And that's really by virtue of when it was built. And so when I came here, I just fell in love with the actual physical plant of the school, which is really neat. We have, coaches' offices that I haven't had, in a lot of places. We have different facilities for our kids that we're really fortunate to have. And so that was probably the first, tangible thing that I noticed even before I accepted the job. And then when you take the job, that you meet people that make a big impact on you. And so, like I said, we opened in 1990 here at university, which in the scheme of our school district in Orange County, that makes us a relatively established school with a lot of the growth in Central Florida. And so to hear people's perspective who opened the school, like our athletic trainer, Christina Farley, she opened the school in 1990, and she's as respected as it gets in the athletic training field. But to hear her perspective on this, not even, I mean, she's able to tell you this has worked in the past, this hasn't worked, this would have worked, but this happened. To hear the transitions that the school's gone through with different relief schools opening, people like that have really made this a cool thing, and that's different than what I've experienced previously. Just to have people in the school that have been here for a long, long time, they can give you a perspective that you can't get otherwise. So I think the physical appearance of our school is really neat, and then the people that are here and who have been here and have made an investment in the school for a long time. That's been really cool to get to know those folks because in my experience, I've jumped around from time to time at different schools, but this is there's a lot of folks here who have been here a while and give you a perspective that you can't really get from someone who hasn't been invested in a community for a long time.
Oh no, and again, I think that's such an important point when you do come into a new school is you're excited, you've got your way of doing things, what's worked for you in the past, but maybe pump the brakes a little bit because the school you're coming into, right, wrong, good or bad, they've got some history, they've got some tradition, and that one thing that you want to change, it might be the most important thing to them. So again, very cool. Appreciate you sharing that. We're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but let's do it right now. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, and listeners, you've got a tremendous resource here. What's the best way that our listeners can get a hold of Mark Pendergast or Mark Barrett?
Yeah, email would be the best way. My email is mark, MARK, BARRETT @OCPS.net. That would be the best way to initially connect, and then we can get in contact from there.
Okay. Well, again, our guest today is Mark Barrett, as you just heard from University High School in Orlando, Florida. We're going to take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are coming back with more. So please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Snap. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with our teams and it had great success. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. I'm telling you, and it works. Go to snapraise.com Check out all of their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it. Go to snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is one of those platforms that you're going to use every single day, whether it's scheduling, rosters, results. For me, the athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is incredible. You really got to see it to believe it. To find out more, just go to homecampus.com. That's homecampus.com. And we want to say thanks to our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. Their team is going to have you creating world-class content for your social media channel in seconds. And whether it's a simple social media post to celebrate a victory or an entire newsletter to share all the great things that your athletic department is doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's so easy, even I can do it. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com. Don't forget to mention the podcast. It's Gipper.com. You're going to be very glad you did.
Yeah, Jake, we use home campus. Obviously being in Florida, that's a big part of what we use. That's been a really great resource for us as far as clerical work and paperwork and maintaining, contact info for our parents of our athletes. And so we use that daily and are really pleased with it.
Oh, well, again, I appreciate you sharing that. And you don't have to sell me on home campus. Boy, when it first came out and the FHSA adopted it, just such a an improvement over the previous platform in all facets. Again, staying in touch, communication with schools, with parents. You heard me talk about the eligibility platform, and it is the state platform for Florida. I know California uses it, and I think North Carolina might use it too. But if you're listening in another state, you can still be a home campus school. And again, that eligibility platform, you're going to love it. So thanks for sharing that. Our guest is Mark Barrett. He's the assistant athletic director at University High School. Mark, during the break, you were talking about an initiative that you have there and apparently have had for a number of years at university. I don't think I've ever heard of any other school doing this. And I love the idea. Can you share that with our listeners?
Sure. So when I got to university as the head football coach, it was my first head coaching opportunity, and one of my biggest fears was that we were just going to run out of money, and so that was something that was always on top of mind. So we were looking for ways to streamline how we did things and how to stretch a dollar as far as we could, but we also wanted to provide our kids with a lot of apparel and shirts and shorts and workout gear and things like that. So in an effort to be able to maximize how much we gave our kids, and in turn it's become how much we can give our coaches, we've developed a process to make our own apparel in-house. And so we source blank garments, whether it be shirts, compressions, shorts, pants, whatever it may be. And we've gotten pretty good at the heat transfer process, and the heat presses have come a long way as far as being user friendly and available price wise. And we've gotten pretty good at developing our own stuff, and we've been able to do that at a fraction of the cost of if we were paying retail or from some of the suppliers, which provide a great service. But we were in the position where we weren't flush with cash. And so we thought that a way to get more to our kids was to just kind of make it ourselves. And so that's been a really great thing for us. As I've stepped out of coaching and gotten into the more administrative side of things, we've been able to do that for our coaches as well. And that's been a neat thing for them, at the beginning of each season, to be able to get some apparel for for their specific sport. So whether that's, our basketball coaches or our volleyball coaches or our golf coach or whoever it may be, it's just something nice to provide them at the beginning of each season, as kind of like a little spirit pack for coaches. And I know that they've liked it, they've appreciated it, and it's something that's, we may or may not have been able to do at the scale that we have if we were using some of the traditional processes and services. But with a little work on our end, and some trial and error, going back a few years now, we've been able to streamline that process pretty well.
Well, I'm just having a flashback to, my time as a head football coach and an AD at the same time at a small school. Um, we could afford, to buy, that one, you know, four-letter brand name or five-letter brand name shirt. Or what I ended up doing was going to let's say a independent company and getting, at least two, sometimes three t-shirts, different colors, different logos, a pair of shorts for sometimes less than that one brand name shirt. You've taken it to the next step and, cut out the production or absorb the production yourself. Um, how is the response from your kids? For us, I guess I'm trying to answer my own question. I think they like seeing that brand name, but they really loved getting more than one piece of clothing. Have you found that to be true for you?
Yeah, I think we've approached this as it's a supplement to those things, not as a complete replacement. Because yeah, I mean the reality is there's certain brands that our kids recognize and are get really excited about. Um, I think also, they enjoy the fact that, 2 to 3 to 4 days a week they've got something with school colors that they can wear. And so, I think, and we're not going crazy with designs. We're talking school logos and some very modest customization. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a great supplement to those options. We haven't really replaced it completely, but it's really kind of augmented what we've been able to provide for our kids.
Um, what, how about the parents? What's their, I guess, response or level of appreciation for, hey, we're trying to do this for the kids, and at the same time, best utilize our resources. Do the parents recognize that?
I think they do. Definitely when we've opened it up to parents for purchase before, and they definitely are okay with the price point, because we're able to, get it out to them, at a reduced rate than what they would otherwise pay. So, I think they see the motivation behind it, and they appreciate the fact that, we're making an effort to make things as streamlined as possible from a price perspective. So, and that's one thing that we try to, everyone tries to do this, but we try to not go back to the same well for resources over and over again. And so if there's something that we can do to lean on our parents a little bit less from a financial perspective, I think they appreciate that.
Now, I know I'm ambushing you with this question. This is something we did when I was at a very small school, and we just didn't have money for those types of things. We went out and found local, and I know you're part of the big city, so local has a different word. Niceville, this would probably go over really big. We found local sponsors that sometimes they would sponsor all those shirts for volleyball or girls basketball, whatever, and they wouldn't even ask for a logo. Some, we'd put their name on the back of the shirt. Some we'd put it on the sleeve. I even did our coaches' shirts once. I had a business sponsor our coaches' shirt and just put a little logo on the sleeve. Have you done anything like that? Tried to sponsor these types of items that are going to get seen? They say the life of a t-shirt is 10,000 views. Have you had any success with that, or have you even tried it?
Yeah, we have we've gone down that route, and it's a great way to go. I think you mentioned, and once you get into the larger urban areas, you get a lot more let me check with corporate type
Right,
things.
right.
And so, but no, we've there's definitely some independently owned merchants around here that have been really supportive of us. And but you're right, that's a great way to go about it. And honestly, we probably need to do more. But yeah, we've definitely gone down that road.
Yeah, and again, some of them they're going to want to be associated, with that university. Of course, we'll sponsor them. Um, Mark, this has been so cool. I wish we had some more time because you got some great stuff for our listeners, but we're not done yet. We always wrap up with the athletic director's toolbox. Now, you've shared that you certainly know your way around the world of high school athletics, but we're going to hear from our final sponsor, Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job, but I'm only going to let you put three things in the toolbox. So let's hear from Athletic Surveys, and when we return, we're going to see what Mark Barrett puts in his new athletic director toolbox. We want to say thank you to Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox. At my schools, we use surveys for everything for student athletes, for coaches, teachers, for parents. And here's the fun fact: the information that would come back on these surveys was almost always over the top positive. And I'm sure it's going to be the same for you. The surveys did allow us to hear from those squeaky wheel parents that we were already hearing from, but we could address their concerns, keep them from turning into big things. But having that overwhelming amount of positive feedback was tremendously valuable, especially when you're visiting with that frustrated parent or student athlete, or sometimes your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey just for your school that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Check them out today. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Mark Barrett. He's the assistant athletic director at University High School right here in Florida in Orlando. Has a tremendous background as a coach, as an educator, as a leader. But right now, I'm going to challenge him to send out a brand new athletic director on their first job, but I'm only going to let him put three items in the toolbox. So, Mark, what three items are going to go into your new athletic director toolbox?
Well, I think the first one would be uh, on the front end. We use Google Drive a lot for our athletic department, and the resources there, whether it's spreadsheets, whether it's forms, whether it's documents, to be able to be interconnected with all of our coaches and our parents on our campus, that would be definitely one of the three. The second one is something that I had not really thought of before until I saw our athletic director with it on the sideline, and that was a portable phone charger. And I learned about that as my phone was dying in the middle of a football game around 9:30 at night, and he had a portable phone charger at the ready, and I'd never thought of that, but I don't know why I didn't think of that because it's a really handy thing to have, especially as people have to get in touch with the athletic administrator on site, and so that would be a second item that I would say, and then for a third one, I think I would say getting away from a tangible item would just be a mindset of flexibility that puts the interests of the kids first. I think that's one thing that I've been fortunate to work for a lot of really good coaches over the years, and that's been the number one thing that I feel like I've gained from a lot of them is being in it to put the interests of the student athlete first. And so, if that governs your actions on a day-to-day basis, then I think you're going to be in a good spot. And so that's what we try to do. Certainly, are not perfect, but we're trying to get better at that every day compared to where we were the day before. So I think that would set a new athletic director on a good course.
Boy, I love them all. And, we've been doing this now for going on 5 years. We've had well over 2,000 responses, total responses to that question. And you are the first one to ever mention portable phone charger. But I'm guessing everybody that's listening to this podcast has had that moment where they're out on the field or they're in the gym and their phone is dying. It's a great suggestion. And the other ones are too, of course. Being flexible and the Google Sheets, the tech aspect. Great stuff. Thanks for sharing that. Um, Once again, if one of our listeners wanted to reach out and pick your brain a little bit more, find out how you do things there at university, what's the best way that they can get in touch with Mark Barrett?
Yeah, the best way is going to be email, mark.barrett@ocps.net. OCPS is for Orange County Public Schools.net. That would be the best way to get in contact quickly, and then we can touch base from there.
Well, Mark, thanks again for sharing. All the best moving forward in this busy spring sports season. Looking forward to seeing you in person at the FIAAA in May. And who knows, maybe I'm going to end up at your school this spring for a track meet. We'll have to wait and see. But thanks again for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Jake. I appreciate you having me on. And once again, thank you for all you do for athletic administrators, especially newer ones like me. The resources that you give out are really, really helpful. And I really appreciate that.
Oh, God, you're very kind. Thanks for sharing that. For listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories from the world of education-based athletics along with some best practices. So come back and join us again for another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.